Hello, Mage fans, and welcome to Mage the podcast that works hard towards ascension so you don't have to. I'm your host, Adam, and today I've got a grab bag of items to share with new storytellers. If you're an experienced storyteller, you probably already know the topics I'm discussing today, but many listeners are new to storytelling or considering running their first game. It's my hope the systems and ideas I share today will help people start off on the right foot. I'm going to discuss mysteries, failing forward, let it ride, portraying cities, faction clocks, and villain advice. Much of what I'm sharing today I gleaned from the book So You Want to Be a Game Master by Justin Alexander. I've been reading Justin's RPG blog, The Alexandrian, for years. I'd like to recommend the book, but it's 534 pages, and large portions of it are dedicated to fixing problems with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm going to offer some highlights filtered through a mage lens. My main topic today is mysteries. If you're not running mysteries in your mage games, you're missing out. The name World of Darkness has two meanings. Dark as in evil things that are happening, but also dark as in unknown. The evil deeds are hidden. Conspiracies need to be uncovered to accomplish anything, and that means solving mysteries. When I say mystery, some people think of whodunits, find the murderer. I'm using mystery in a broader sense. Anytime there's information that needs to be uncovered through investigation with an opponent trying to prevent that investigation, that's a mystery. Who murdered the Chantry leader? Where is the Staff of Five Thunders hidden? What is making everyone in the neighborhood have nightmares? You get the idea. To prep for this episode, I listened to our September 16th, 2023 episode, Missions, Mysteries, and Magic, Paranormal Investigations in Mage. In that episode, Bryce brought up a common concern. If the players fail their investigation roll, they don't get any clues. They can't solve the mystery, and the game grinds to a halt. Bryce offered the solution, don't roll for it. Rather than risk the game grinding to a halt, just give the players the clue without a roll. That's a good idea, and will help in some situations, but rather than just give it a thumbs up, I'd like to explain the real problem and then suggest a few solutions. When running games, you can't lock important things behind a single roll of the dice. You risk breaking your game. When you start a new game, the players are given a mission by their mentor or hear about a strange disease threatening a neighborhood. There are no rolls to get that information. If there were, your game might never get started. So, when there's a mystery, you give the players the clues without rolls, right? That's not going to work for two reasons. First, it's too easy, and the players will feel like the game is on rails. They keep getting handed the thing to do, and if they want to do something else, they're ruining things. Second, players who spent points on skills like investigation, alertness, research, etc., are getting punished. They don't get to use their skills. Mysteries, then, are different from other scenarios. You can't require a skill roll to get the clue. You can't just hand it out. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do we drop mysteries and turn to action scenes and social encounters? Well, no, mysteries are fun, so let's tackle this. I'm going to start by taking a step back to paint a better picture, then I'm going to give some solutions. Mage books frequently advise us to think of our games as stories. We're told to get inspiration from books and movies. As I've said several times on Tomes of Magic episodes, role-playing games are different from books and novels. We see a great mystery movie and notice the characters get a clue that leads them to the next scene. There they get another clue that leads them to the next scene. Finally, they reach the exciting reveal or confrontation with the villain. I like it when the villains panic after the reveal and you get both. We take this inspiration to our game prep and see Scene 1. You find the clue. Proceed to Scene 2. We make a chain. If anything goes wrong, the chain breaks and our game is in trouble. A better approach is to think of some locations and some NPCs that will give the players clues. Keep in mind who is opposing the players and what they're capable of. Now we have scenes that can be used flexibly. There is no chain. Next, we use the 3-clue rule. When the players go somewhere or question an NPC, make sure you have at least 3 clues that can be discovered. This gives many benefits. It allows more than one player to find something useful. The player with the highest investigation knowledge got a good footprint from the rug. Meanwhile, another player noticed a key hidden behind a book. Also, if the players fail 2 rolls in a row, they can make the third, and the scene isn't frustrating. Another point worth mentioning is new storytellers don't realize even when the players have all the clues, they don't know what you know. You'd be surprised how often they reach the wrong conclusion. It wasn't the butler, it was the chauffeur. While you're thinking to yourself, no, guys, it is the butler. Are you going to let him get away? The 3-clue rule prompts you to write lots of clues, so the players have a better chance of making the right deduction. Now, there are 2 ways to use the 3-clue rule. First, you can put 3 clues in a scene that all give the same information. When the players succeed in a roll, forget the rest. What I advise is 3 clues that give different information. For the clues the players miss, add clues to later scenes that give the same information. This lets more players make discoveries and helps the players make correct deductions earlier on. This is a good place to tell you there are 2 kinds of clues: leads and evidence. A lead guides the players to the next scene. A matchbook from a restaurant leads the players to investigate the restaurant. The name of the security guard who noticed the crime leads the players to that NPC. Evidence is information that solves the mystery. The killer had blonde hair. The wonder used to break into the chantry can only be used by students of Master Erica. Get the names of her students, and you have a suspect list. In a one-shot, you make half or more of your clues evidence. If it's a multi-session game, there are more leads than evidence. If you want to bump it up a notch, try this. If the players miss a clue, they can get it in a later scene, right? So it's all the same. If you're worried about that, reward players for getting clues early. If they find the thug's lair early, the thugs are still there. If they take time to learn about the lair, the thugs have cleared out. You might find a clue there, but fewer clues and no exciting confrontation. Now we get back to the question of what happens when the players fail all their rolls. The scene gives no clues. First off, if the players missed 3 or more rolls, are your difficulties too high? It's worth considering. But getting back to the question, you can play it safe or you can use a backup. You can play it safe by not requiring rolls. Don't just hand the clues out. Like I said earlier, that's a poor solution. Here are some options. The old school method is think of where the clues are. If the players mention looking there, they find it. No roll. For example, the password is on a sticky note on the back of a picture that is hanging on the wall. You describe the room and ask the players where they look. If one checks out the pictures on the wall, they see it. Another method is defaults for skills. If a player has a 2 or 3 in investigation, they will find the fingerprint. For a tough clue, let the player with a 4 or 5 in their skill get it with no roll. You reward players for getting skills, but don't risk losing anything to bad rolls. It can speed up your scenes, too. Another thing to consider is don't rely too much on one skill. I looked at character sheets for Mage 20 and 2nd edition. Under Knowledges, Investigation, and Occult look solid. Those skills will turn up clues. Resist the temptation to keep using them again and again. Alertness will notice things. Intuition and subterfuge can notice NPCs lying. Streetwise can be useful. Research can be used outside of a library. Athletics can notice a strange way to set up a workout machine. The list goes on. The point is, there are a lot of skills on the character sheet, and a lot of those can be paired with a mental attribute or a social attribute to turn up clues. When a scene ends in frustration, you can use a backup. I mentioned this one a few minutes ago. The backups are attack, helpful NPC, and research. Famous pulp detective stories and movies use the attack often. The players are stumped with no idea where to turn, or you just feel things are slow and some of your players are getting bored. They get attacked by henchmen working for the villain. This adds the excitement of a fight or a chase scene. If they defeat the attacker, they may get a clue in his pocket or his car, but that's not really the point here. The fact is that the villain is trying to remove the players. That's encouraging. It means they're on to something. If they can't think of anything after that, let a helpful NPC approach them with a clue, a reward for buying the right backgrounds. Finally, suggest a place to do some research. You can always get the players back on track if they can't get clues. Remember, if you want to penalize the players for taking too long, give them cold leads to their enemies. Good for a clue, but the players will know they're getting behind. So now that mysteries are no longer a mystery, let's look at some other topics to help new storytellers. Heists are an interesting change of pace for Mage. In the movies, a heist is when a criminal breaks into a building, steals money, and escapes. In role-playing games, heist is a term for when players sneak into a secure location, take something important, and then escape. If the technocracy has a high-tech wonder causing problems in a city, they're going to protect it. If the players sneak in, shut down the wonder, and escape with its power source, you could call that a heist. Heists are high risk and thus exciting. If the players mess anything up during the heist, well, they could be captured or killed. One failed roll, and not only do they fail, they won't be willing to attempt a heist next time. It's too dangerous. The solution to this is failing forward. This expression may mean something different outside of RPGs, but for us gamers, failing forward means you failed, but you still move forward. When a player fails a roll, instead of alerting the guards or having the poison gas spray, the player is allowed to succeed, but there's a complication. Complications can include extra expense in money or quintessence. Player takes damage, equipment breaks, time is lost, or someone opposed to you learns of what you did. For example, the player fails to hack the code needed to open the door to get to the technocracy's wonder. The player's tablet or wrist computer breaks, or the player needs to take extra time to shut down the alarm before it sounds. Maybe the player leaves a clue that a guard notices in a few minutes. Or the next day, the technocrat in charge of the place will have the name of the player's character in his hand. For now, the players are still able to get the door open, but the tension has ratcheted up. In this way, the current session that centers around the heist can continue. One roll doesn't wreck everything, but failure still has a cost. More than that, it's interesting. Just to be sure not to push failing forward too far, if the players mess up too much or too severely, they can still fail the heist. Let it ride is another useful tool for storytellers. Let's say a player's character is trying to sneak into a guarded mansion. He's going to roll stealth checks. The problem is he's going to be rolling again and again. The chance of failing one of those rolls is pretty high when you lump them all together. One failed roll and he gets caught by a guard. When a player realizes the low chance for overall success, why take the risk? The solution is to have your player make one roll at the start of the endeavor and let it ride. That is, every time he passes down another hallway or comes near another guard, you see if that first roll is good enough to succeed. The first roll will continue to ride until one of 4 things happens. 1, he succeeds in the overall attempt. 2, he fails. 3, the player changes his approach. The player knocks out a guard and takes his clothes for a disguise. 4, circumstances change. A social event begins in the mansion, so the guards are more alert. Now the player imitates a guest instead of hiding behind things. A change of approach or responding to changed circumstances means a new roll. When the player's initial roll is about to be tested by an opposing roll that is tougher than the first one, let the player know he's taking a risk. For example, the initial stealth roll was against a guard. A few minutes later, the player needs to pass a high-tech camera with motion sensor. The camera can make a better roll to detect the player than the guard could a few minutes ago. Tell your player the camera near the ceiling looks high-tech. Do you want to chance it? If the player has, say, 2 successes riding, he might want to stop, adjust his gear, and try for a better roll. Not every failure is a catastrophe. If the player is about to fail his stealth roll, you might tell him a guard is coming and there's no place to hide here. The player has a moment to think of something else, like imitating a lost delivery man or attacking the guard. Also, if the player has 2 or more dots in a skill, you have the option of evaluating a task before attempting. This is not in a rule book. I made this up, but you might try it. For example, a player wants to climb a wall. He fails his roll. You tell your player, you examine the wall and you don't see a way to make it work. Better try something else. Now your player can move on without an injury from falling off the wall. Often in our games, the particular city the players are in, it doesn't matter. We just want a big city. When it does matter, when you want to show the players how San Diego is different from other cities, try this simple procedure. You prep by dividing the city into districts. You don't need that many. 4 or 5 is enough for a few sessions. The financial district is different from downtown where the tourists and entertainment is. The university district is quieter with lots of bookstores and students. You get the idea. Now, name the major roads that connect the districts and think of one landmark for each district. University District has the Old Cathedral. Downtown has the over-decorated Cafe Boulevard. Now make a roll table with 5 or 10 scenic encounters. Something easy for a D10. Scenic encounters are things typical for your city. Hollywood, California will have tourists who mistake one of the players for a celebrity. San Francisco might have a rude homeless person. San Diego might have a wealthy yacht owner who mistakes the players for his new hired yacht crew. Now, every time the players are going somewhere in the city that is more than a few blocks away, follow this procedure. 1. Name the district the players are headed to. 2. Describe a landmark they pass. 3. Roll on your scenic encounter table. You might even make a table for each district if your game will spend more time in the city. 4. Describe the location they reach. Make it fit the feel of the district that it's in. 2 things to note here. First, if you've established your city's feel and you're about to have an important scene, you can skip the scenic encounter table. Don't let the procedure become a straitjacket. Second, describing your landmark can be a great way to set the mood for the scene your players are headed to. If they're going to a tense, moody scene, tell them the cathedral broods under an overcast sky. It looks like a stark white island in a lifeless gray sea. If they're headed to a happy or restful scene, the sunlight shines on the cathedral, making the stained glass windows glisten like jewels. Happy birds chirp from the roof. This procedure can make your city come to life after a few sessions. Faction clocks are a great idea. I saw them in Justin Alexander's book, but they may have started in Blades in the Dark, another role-playing game. These clocks are little circles in your notes that are divided into 4, 6, or 8 segments, like pie slices in the circle. When an NPC faction is trying to accomplish something, make a roll for them. Each success fills in a segment of the circle until it's done. Rolls are made when there is downtime or at regular intervals, like every week or every month. For the roll, you can assume a dice pool between 2 and 10, or just look at the stats for the faction leader. Intelligence plus leadership, or intelligence plus resources, whatever you think most appropriate. This introduces uncertainty to your game's schedule of events. Many storytellers start out reading the Mage books, which tell us to plan our games and make all the decisions ourselves. This can lead to a situation that feels a little artificial. Once the players solve a problem, another one is ready. A rhythm that feels a little fake after a while and puts all the pressure on the storyteller. Instead, let the faction clocks determine when the NPC factions are ready to make their moves. This way, there may be slow times when the players either catch a downtime break or initiate something themselves. What's great is when there are multiple problems threatening the players at the same time. And a faction clock can make that situation come around. The players have to divide the cabal or prioritize their efforts. This is more like real life and keeps the pace fresh. You can also use faction clocks when the players disturb an NPC faction. If the players raid the warehouse where the progenitors are keeping their drugs, roll on a 4-piece faction clock. When it's all filled in, the progenitors know who hit their warehouse and will send their forces after the players. We finish up with villain advice. Many new storytellers create great villains for their stories, but as they say, no story prep survives contact with the players. The nuanced, well-thought-out nemesis for your players gets shot in the head 5 minutes after he shows up. Putting 9 layers of plot armor on your villain isn't the answer. Sending a villain against your players who has stats superior to theirs may seem like a clever solution, but now you frustrate the players and have to justify to yourself, why doesn't the villain just step on the players and be done with it? I'm offering you 3 ideas for your villains. Hopefully, one of them will help you out. A good rule of thumb is to send a number of mid-level opponents against your players. After a few struggles, which remember don't always have to be physical, see which opponent survives. An opponent that survives a few brushes with the players is a good candidate for your important villain. That NPC will have some knowledge of the players' methods, some reasons to hate them, and your players will remember them. That means the villain that is important to you as a storyteller will also be important to your players. A second tip is separation. Although they are a few years old, Star Trek Wrath of Khan and Die Hard are still popular movies. Captain Kirk and Khan oppose each other through the whole movie for Star Trek, but they're never in the same room. In Die Hard, hero John McClane and villain Hans Gruber have tension between them throughout the movie, but they don't get near each other until the end. Let the villain send lieutenants and henchmen from a safe position. The apparent cowardice makes the players hate their enemy all the more. Meanwhile, you get to keep your villain alive until the dramatic showdown. The final tip on villains is a mistake many new storytellers make. Retreat! Fantasy role-playing games condition us to think of fights to the finish. When real people are injured and see an opponent ready to dish out more, they get out of there. When your villain is wounded or sees the players gain an advantage, it's okay for your villain to flee the scene. A recurring villain helps players get into your story, but for that to happen, the villains have to take care of themselves enough to recur. Well, if you're a new storyteller or considering giving it a try, I hope these tips will help you out. If you have something to say, please contact us at magethepodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, or feedback. Subscribe to Mage the Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and other aggregators. If you like the show, others might like it too, and if you leave a review of Mage the Podcast, it makes us more visible in their searches. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Threads. The links are in the show notes. We're also on the web at magethepodcast.com. You can listen to past episodes there and see the complete show notes. We have a YouTube channel now where you can find our episodes. There's a link in the show notes, but you can also search YouTube for Mage the Podcast. You'll find us. This episode was assisted greatly by our executive producers, and I want to thank them now. Oracle Derek Semsick, Oracle Jason Vines, Oracle Drawncap, Oracle Ben Bandelow, Oracle Sean Gallagher, Oracle The Crew of Erebus, Oracle McHale, Oracle Christopher Phillips, Oracle Guy Stewart, Oracle Buck Gregory, Oracle Bad Company, Oracle Spartacus, Archmaster Andrew Edelstein, Archmaster Berto, Archmaster Brad of the Blue, Archmaster Dan Svensson, Archmaster Jeff Waugh, Archmaster Leroy Bryce, Archmaster Morgan Aaron, Archmaster Simon Strand, Archmaster Wolf Larison, Morris Hopkins, James B., Jervis Johnson, EBG, George Lara, Will Vincent, Shartan, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Tyler Bryan, Jason Duncan, Sev Nessus, Bubba the Pale One, Henry Kraft, Eric Schwenk, Starfish, Ambiversion, Ryan Stray, Lulls and Stuff, Kathleen Halpern, Kelrick, Alexia, Patrick McNamara, Blaze Hebert, Rachel Grace, Daniel Scribner, Ricardo, Rob H., Alex, Nikita Klaimanov, Leslie Weatherstone, Matthew Prohl, Anders S., Bryce Perry, Michael Parker, Jeremy Z., Melissa Krause, Ian Robertson, Curtis Hendricks, That's Real Nito, Sig, Mandel Canos, Darren Hennessy, Eli Levenger, David Rowe, Jason Kennedy, Samuel Tobin, Nibero, Jenna F., Chris Kinner, Gray Trilag H., Daniel Cuppen, Ryan Kendi, Bull, Stephen Carton. If you would like to become an executive producer for Mage the Podcast, it would help us keep producing episodes like this one. You would also become a part of our own council to discuss upcoming projects. The link in the show notes will get you started. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, truth until paradox.